Welcome back. Russia continues to press its invasion of Ukraine to the outskirts of the capital as hundreds of thousands of families are now trying to flee the violence.
You have to act, guys. You next. I mean, maybe not America, but Poland, other countries of Europe need to act immediately. It's not normal. Those people stand 7 hours with a baby on a border.
I have a 5-year-old kid, and I have also my sister who has 2 kids, so we are really scared.
Some powerful pictures emerging, families with children in fear, children and the elderly in front of destroyed buildings, as well as a child putting up the peace sign. Women and children crossing borders into Poland, Romania, and other neighboring countries as well. People staying in Ukraine trying to find somewhere safe, including makeshift bomb shelters in subway stations. Now, as the attack continues, Canadian humanitarian groups are doing all that they can to offer their help. Joining me live now is Lisa Shimko, the president of Ukraine Support Fund, with more on the work that they are doing to help residents on the ground. Lisa, good morning. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me on, Tammy.
Yeah. First off, I wanted to ask, I know that you've been providing support to families in Ukraine well before this. However, how has that support now changed? How have you shifted because of the invasion?
When Russia first attacked Ukraine in 2014 and seized Crimea and started the war in eastern Ukraine, the conflict was a lot more localized. And our organization at that time was focusing primarily on assisting field hospitals, providing medical equipment, training doctors, and later helping veterans, particularly women, because Ukraine's army is actually one of the most feminized army in Europe. There are 56,000 Ukrainian women that are employed with the Ukrainian armed forces, and over 30,000 are active military service. Now that the conflict has become much more intensified and the situation really is deteriorating so rapidly, as the scenes you're showing so poignantly indicate, there is a much more concern over the number of people that are fleeing. So we now see over 100,000 people escaping westward, heading towards the border, towards Poland. Over 30,000 people have already been processed and have entered Poland. And as you saw, the majority are women and children because Ukraine is currently under martial law. So men between the ages of 18 and 60 are not allowed to leave Ukraine because there is a conscription going on. So these are primarily women and children, and men are being separated, forced to stay back. Many of them are joining the local defense forces. So it really is, it's a growing catastrophe, and we're very much concerned about how many more people will be escaping westward. I can easily see that the numbers will swell towards a minimum of 1 million very, very soon. And we already see a human corridor being created towards Poland, but we also foresee that this may happen on the border of Slovakia and Romania as well.
Yeah, the images are terrifying. The situation itself is just so disturbing that families are being separated, as you mentioned, with men having to stay behind to try to defend Ukraine. What are you hearing from those on the ground when it comes to, especially, I would think that a lot of the supplies that you would be offering typically, now that distribution must be impacted as well?
Well, I'll tell you what we're hearing from our partners is to please also switch gears on the, if we can call it, information warfare that needs to be waged. We're also engaging in advocacy because what a lot of the humanitarian organizations that we're partnered with in Ukraine are telling us, please get the message out to the West to increase the sanctions, to draw attention to what is happening, and to make Putin pay. Because what we're seeing is that they are not pulling back. We now see that we have to also amplify the message of holding Putin to justice. And so our own partners are saying, please, please tell the Canadian government that's already done so much, but also our US partners, our European partners, that more has to be done to hold Putin accountable. So we are also getting the message out that Russia needs to be isolated. They need to be kicked out of every international organization. That includes the World Trade Organization. They've already corrupted the Olympics. We need to get them out of international soccer tournaments. We need to get them out of anything that gives them a profile on the international stage. We also know that their oligarchs, who Putin just met with a couple of days ago, control a huge amount of resources. They are helping to prop Putin up. They're helping to finance this crooked and corrupt and brutal endeavor. We know that Putin's daughter, for example, is allegedly the owner of a condo in Monte Carlo. They hold a lot of real estate around the world. New York, Miami, Toronto, London, England. We need to freeze those assets. These people feel that they will be forgotten and will be abandoned, and they very much worry that that humanitarian aid will eventually be blocked. So we're also hoping to get that message out as well. And I want to thank your program so much for focusing on this issue, because the desperation really is growing.
Absolutely. We're seeing a lot of support from around the country with protests here in support of Ukraine, the average Canadian wanting to help as well. And I know that on our website, we have ways that they can do that. Again, Lisa, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing just your message and what your fund is doing.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
No problem.